Hi guys, welcome to the show. And again, it's Manu
and Dom
with
that.
So welcome to the show. And if it's your first time here, you want to go back and watch the other episodes. Mm-hmm. So the purpose of the show is to talk about horror stories that can happen with real estate. So stay tuned. It's gonna be juicy.
You'll love it.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're back with Atty Paula Miller with Compass Law. Hi, Paula.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Well, the last video was amazing. If you did not catch it, make sure you go and look at it because it was awesome and super informative. And on this segment, we're going to be talking about the opposite. So the previous one, again, if you haven't seen it, go see it, was about if you are living in a home with someone and you guys aren't married and you own that home together. Now it's the opposite. If you are married and you own that home together and you're splitting, what to do about that?
If you are married and trying to figure out how to split up the property, unfortunately, the only way that you can do it is through the divorce process. If you come together and you have an agreement at the first, before you start the divorce process, the court will do their best to honor your agreement. It has to be fair and equitable to both people, and they'll evaluate that. But it certainly makes the whole process so much easier if you do come to some sort of agreement about what you're going to do with the property. Similar things. If somebody has the financial ability to be paying for it all themselves, they can kind of buy out the other person, or otherwise go through and figure out how you're going to sell the property and split the equity. If you're in agreement on that, it goes so much easier. Otherwise, through the divorce process, the court is going to evaluate whether you have to sell the property, whether one person can buy the other person out. But they don't just look at the property themselves. They look at a whole bunch of factors, alimony, who's contributed more, during the marriage, how people have contributed, who really has the assets to be able to split things.
Do they look at if you had the property prior to being married, or does that play?
It certainly can, because they'll look at it of whether that's actually marital property. If you bought it after you were married, then it's definitely marital property. There's a question if you bought it by yourself beforehand, did you treat it like it became marital property, and how does that work? But if there's children involved through the whole court divorce process, they're really going to look at what is the best interest of the child. Does it make sense for the children to stay in that home, and how does that going to work?
Okay.
And I want to, I heard that even if you as a married couple, you purchase the property absent of your partners knowing that they still in the process of divorcing, they still have that right to ownership of that property.
They're going to look at a whole financial statement through the divorce process, all of your assets, and you have to keep updating that through the divorce process. So you have to make sure that you've declared everything that is your property, is your assets, what your income, your expenses are through the whole process. And yeah, they're going to evaluate if you're still divorced and you buy another property, that's one of your assets and it needs to be disclosed. How the court takes care of that, they'll look if both of you went off throughout the divorce process once you separated and each went and bought your own separate property, they'll probably leave those as individual assets. But it really shouldn't be doing anything sneaky thinking that you're going to get away with it, because you're supposed to be declaring all of your assets throughout the entire process until the divorce is finalized.
Awesome. Now, Paula, I've heard people say that prior to, like after they buy a property together, that they want to put it in a trust in order to protect the property if they end up separating or divorcing. Can you help us understand how that actually works?
A trust is best when kind of preparing for what happens if somebody is to pass away, because it avoids probate, and you set up who the beneficiaries of the trust are and who the successor beneficiaries are if that person is to pass. It helps if a married couple owns the property together, both of them are going to have to sign off on putting that property in a trust. So if the trust is set up for the protection for their children, then hopefully they're both in agreement that, yes, this should be set up for the future for their children, and they'll both agree on the terms of the trust, and they'll both agree on signing the deed over to the trust. But that really is a way to make sure that you're future planning for your children, to make sure that it's protected from creditors, protected if you're going into a nursing home with an irrevocable trust. There is a 5-year look back. They look at your assets that you've changed in the last 5 years if you're going into a nursing home. But all of these are kind of estate planning tools to make sure that the property is protected for future generations.
And it protects you against lawsuits too, right? If there's anything.
If it's
something
set up
happens.
correctly, it can protect you from unsecured creditors coming after you for a lawsuit. Correct.
A lot of
Nice.
gold nuggets over here. So
Mhm.
you don't want to miss it. All right. Any other questions?
What if they're separate, not divorced, but separated for a lengthy amount of time, even estranged from each other? What if the person's ready to sell that property? Do they then have to get in touch with their
Yes.
estranged spouse?
You do
before they
need
can sell it?
everybody whose name is on the deed needs to sign to be able to sign off on selling the property. And if you're married, Massachusetts, because we have homestead protection,
Mhm.
even if you're the only person whose name on the deed, but you're married, even if you haven't talked to them for a while, they still need to sign off releasing their homestead rights if they lived at the property as their personal residence for some time.
Oh my
Gold nuggets,
gosh.
I'm telling you.
So if we were married and he got on my nerves and he went and started a whole new life on the other side of the country and I haven't seen him in 12
Emotions,
years
honey. You
and
gotta
I'm
put the
ready,
emotions
You're
aside.
I'm ready to
still-
sell,
You
I
have
gotta get in touch with him.
in Massachusetts, you have to declare your marital status on the deed. And so if you are currently married, even if you haven't talked to that person in years, if they lived at the home for some time, they established automatic homestead rights.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to sign off making sure that they're releasing those homestead rights when you go to sell the property.
Sorry.
There are some other ways with affidavits
You
and
have
things
to
like
find
that.
that husband.
You have to find him. What if
Yes.
he moves to Tokyo?
Yes.
And
you
he's
have
got a
to
whole
find
new
him.
life and family and
There
Unless they-
are other
unless they
ways
can
with
prove he's
affidavits
dead or
and things,
something.
but generally speaking, they want that person signing off, releasing their rights.
crazy. And what if,
Yep.
like, you bought it and like the house was like $400,000, and then he went off and lived a whole new life because he left you for somebody that he met. This is not. No, I'm just hypothetical. And then, like, 20 years go by, the house is now worth like a good $800K,
Mhm.
and you're ready to sell it. You got to go call his dusty behind, and then
Yeah,
deal with
Or
that.
start the divorce process if you're
Yes.
still married and you've been going on for all this time without actually getting divorced. You should be getting
Fish him
divorced.
out. Fish him out. Go find him.
Wow.
There are some
Crazy.
affidavits that can be signed in lieu of things, but really, really the right way of doing it is making sure that person signs off. That they know
Yeah.
that they're selling the
Some
house.
people run
Because
for
it
divorce
became-
from
it
divorce
became
because they don't
marital-
want to deal with all of that.
I understand, but it
So-
became marital property.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
one person can't just decide that it's not.
Get your divorce, guys. Get your divorce.
Yep.
We don't want you divorcing anyone.
We want everybody staying together.
Do it
This is
the
the
right
what
way.
ifs. Right.
And it's Paula Miller with Compass Law. Thank you so much. We learned so much information. And no, we're not sending you to get divorced. But if something like that is happening, do it the right way. There are lawyers available. You can go to court and speak to the lawyer of the day, and they'll give you the information. Push come to shove, email us, and we'll get the information for you. She does not work for free, so we need to make sure that she gets paid. Okay?
And I don't do
correct.
family law. I just do real estate related things. I'm not a divorce lawyer.
All right. So thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you so much for
And
having me.
again, thank you for watching. And it is Manu and with that. Bye, guys.
Bye.